Welcome to the Morning Report, a production of fightbackmedia.com, the #1 source of urban conservative information in America.
Well, good morning, friends. Welcome back to the Morning Report from fightbackmedia.com, 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 and fightbackmediatv.com. I'm your host, William Lawson, and today we're diving deep into the political crystal ball. Woo! President Trump just dropped a bombshell list of names. Folks, he believes that could carry on the MAGA movement into 2028 and beyond. So who's got the juice? Who's got the grit? Who's along for the ride? Grab your coffee, some 7 weeks coffee preferably, and let's get into it. Hi, I'm Willie Lawson of the Morning Report. You know, in all our work here on the Morning Report and Fight Back Media, what we have found being true is one thing for sure. Godly principles are lacking on both sides of the aisle. And many organizations are putting profits before people. Our friend at 7 Weeks Coffee was started to reverse that trend and live out their calling as believers in the marketplace. As a value-based business, 7 Weeks Coffee has a simple and transparent mission: to donate 10% of every sale to pregnancy care centers across the nation. They are committed to earning your trust, not expecting it. And how do they do this? By leading with their values, showing the impact, and providing the highest quality product. Y'all know I'm a Christian, I'm a conservative, and 7 Weeks Coffee unapologetically supports pregnancy centers across the nation. Join us by letting your coffee serve a greater purpose. All right, now first off, no, President Trump is not going to go for a third term. We're only 105 to 6 days into the second term. He's been trolling the media on this the entire time, so he's not going for a third term. He said so. Not a thing, people. But what he has done is what every two-term heavyweight does eventually: starts thinking legacy. And this week, during interviews and speeches, Trump floated a few names of possible successors. Now, the genius in this is that he is sort of deciding what a post-Trump world looks like, not the GOP. That's that's the genius in this. Some of them make sense, obviously. But let's say there's one that probably wasn't on your bingo card. We'll get to it. So let's look at each name, not just from who do we like perspective, because this has been a problem all along, but from a real strategic lens. Who can win the general election? And who can keep the base energized? Who can survive the political meat grinder? That's what we have to talk about. That's what we have to look at. Are you tired of funding woke corporations? At Mammoth Nation, shop American-owned businesses that share your values. Get exclusive member-only deals that pay for themselves. Join the America First Marketplace at mammoth.com. Okay, let's start off with the obvious frontrunner, J.D. Vance. Trump's current vice president, and according to some, the MAGA heir apparent. Vance topped the CPAC 2025 straw poll with a whopping 61% of support. That's not a bump. That's a coronation. He's young, he's articulate, he's a Marine, Yale Law, and importantly, he flipped from anti-Trump to pro-Trump and never looked back. Now, some critics might say he's too polished. But maybe that's exactly what we need in a post-Trump GOP. Someone who can package bold, populist ideas with a slightly cleaner delivery. He's pushing hard on economic nationalism, anti-globalist rhetoric, and the restrained but muscular foreign policy. The guy talks about Ohio like it's the new Iowa. He gets working class Americans. So could J.D. Vance win a general election? Possibly. Especially if the Dems run another coastal elite who thinks Cracker Barrel is a hate crime. Right? All right. Now, next up is my man Marco Rubio. Yes, that Rubio. Little Marco. But this time he's back. And he's serving as Trump's Secretary of State. Experience, he's got it. Foreign policy chops, you bet. Rubio has managed to cozy back up to Trump after their rough 2016 dust-up. And Trump seems open to endorsing him. But there's a problem. Rubio is a creature of the pre-Trump GOP. He's more Bush than MAGA, more Davos than Dayton. Maybe. Now, he's smart enough to evolve. But can he convince the base he means it? Now, here's the deal here. As Secretary of State and everything else that Trump asked him to do, Rubio's doing it. Rubio sounds like Trump. Rubio is moving like Trump. Rubio is a henchman for Trump, to put it boldly, put it bluntly. Now, would voters trust him to shut down the border and not just write a white paper about it? He's a safe bet for independents and the donor class types. But the grassroots might see him as the Diet Coke of conservatism. Familiar, but lacking punch. He's not as obnoxious as Trump. He is not. He is absolutely not. But a solid choice. If we're thinking strategically, a solid choice. Staying in the sunshine state of Florida. And of course, there's our boy, Ron DeSantis. Once the heir to Trumpism in 2024, DeSantis ran hard and fizzled. But now he's back in the spotlight with a strong support in Florida, pulling in 33% of GOP voters in early 2028 primary polls. The man's resume is still strong. Governor of a major state, a Navy vet, tough on COVID tyranny, strong on education. The problem? Some people will say maybe he peaked too soon. But still, don't count him out. If somehow Vance stumbles, DeSantis could rebrand as the experienced executive who delivers results without the drama. MAGA without the memes. But here's $1 million question. Can he win back Trump's most loyal supporters after going toe-to-toe with the boss in 2024? Now, I think if it were to come down to it, and Trump said, Ron is my guy, yes. Now, I also think this. I think that Trump's the kind of dude that what you can't be is weak. I think he appreciates people who stood up to him. Marco Rubio. I don't think Marco went back crawling to him. I think Marco stood up to him and kept, and kept, and as I remember in that race in 2016, one of the last people left standing was Marco Rubio. I think Trump appreciates that. He wants to get into a battle with you. I had a principle like that, that if you just rolled over, I don't think he had any respect for you. He would just keep rolling over you. But if you stood up to him, I think he respected that. And I think Trump's that kind of dude that if you stand up to him, he respects that. And especially if you stand up to him and he finds out that you were right, that you weren't wrong, and that you have the courage of your convictions. And I think both Marco Rubio and Ron DeSantis have shown Trump that they have the courage of their convictions. So there's a couple more, but we're going to take this little break. Well, hey, this episode of the Morning Report is brought to you by 7 Weeks Coffee. 7 Weeks Coffee, pro-life, high quality, and bold, just like the Morning Report. A portion of every sip goes to help a pro-life clinic across America. So now you can sip your coffee with convictions. 7weekscoffee.com. 7weekscoffee.com. All right, welcome back. Let's talk about Kristi Noem. Yes, our political stock took a hit. Remember that dog story? But Trump still mentions her. Why? Loyalty. And in this political climate, that's a currency. She's now serving as Secretary of Homeland Security and is leaning hard into national security and immigration. It gives her a platform to talk tough and clean up her image. Is she a front runner? I don't think so. But is she a VP pick for Vance or Rubio? Quite possibly. She checks the boxes, appeals to women in flyover country, and knows how to hold a line. All right. Here's the crazy one. And then there's Stephen A. Smith. Yes, ESPN's loudest voice. And apparently Trump's latest maybe for 2028. Smith called the mention bizarre. But it's not impossible. He says he's sick of both parties and would consider running someday. Now listen, I've got a good hot take. But Smith's running as Trump's successor is a bit like asking Gordon Ramsay to run FEMA. Entertaining? Absolutely. But leadership? Still, if you're Trump and you want to poke the media, throw out a name like Stephen A. Smith and watch heads explode. It's really classic Trump. It's kind of brilliant. We'll be right back after this. At 7 Weeks Coffee, every sip defends life. We give 10% of every sale to pro-life pregnancy centers across America. Drink coffee with conviction, because your brew should stand for something. All right, let's pull it all together. Here's what Trump is doing. He is shaping the post-Trump GOP his way. Not by letting the RNC or think tanks decide, but by elevating loyalists and wildcards. By doing so, he's keeping the movement alive, even without him on the ballot. Vance, the frontrunner. Rubio, the establishment pick. DeSantis, the comeback kid. No? Wild card. Stephen A. Smith, the troll. And it may be a warning shot that the culture war isn't going anywhere. The takeaway is this: 2028 will not be business as usual. The grassroots is energized, the Democrats are fumbling, and the MAGA base wants something or someone who is not afraid to punch back. With brains and backbone and a bulldozer. Are you tired of funding woke corporations? At Mammoth Nation, shop American-owned businesses that share your values. Get exclusive member-only deals that pay for themselves. Join the America First Marketplace at mammoth.com. So, who's got next? Only time and the voters will tell. But one thing's for sure, Trump may be stepping back from the spotlight, but he'll still be pulling strings. All right, thanks for joining us here on the Morning Report. We tell it like it is, keep it clever, never back down. My name is Willie Lawson. God bless, stay bold, and as always, fight back.